Hi vinyl community, John here. I got a package in the post yesterday and I'm just going to open it. Spinning, we've got Sly and the Family Stone, Greatest Hits. Yesterday's soundtrack. Okay, so I got this little tab through the door like you do when you've got something at the post office to collect, and I've been waiting for a tyre for my son's bike, and I thought, you know, that's what's arrived. And when this arrived, when I got the tab in the post office that this was there, I thought, well, that must be the tyre that I've ordered. And I got it, and I didn't really look too closely. I thought, well, they can't be right. They've sent the wrong size, you know. I also got another tab in a separate package later on in the day. So this is the size I was expecting, and I thought, oh, it's the wrong size. But I was fooled, because when I looked closely at the package, I saw, oh, hang on, no, this isn't a tyre. This is, it says VCLT there. And I thought, excellent. And I can see that it comes from Martin Parrott. And this is going to be quite fun. So bear with me while I open this up. And I'll probably edit a lot of this out until I get to the actual stuff inside. But that's pretty cool. Martin's done a little bit of an illustration here. Vinyl is John's passion. There's some hot records in here, VCLT. Okay. Love your records, or we'll deliver another one absolutely free. That's really good, I like that. May even put it in a frame. Okay, maybe get in here. Oh, crikey. Quite a slab of vinyl here. Message here, oh, very nicely written message. Martin, I'll give that a read shortly. A little flyer. Okay, I thought I'd better read the message before I go looking at the records. So, what have we got here at the top? John Ottaway and Wild Willie Barrett, deep and meaningless. Okay, wow. I'm not quite sure what that is, but that is, it looks fun. It's really cool. Wow. Thank you very much. Al Stewart. I think I've got one record by him. I don't have anything else. Wow, that's really nice. Over the Rainbow, the last concert live. Boo Heaverdine and Don Smith. Evidence. Yeah, I don't know what these things are. Oh, wow! Thank you so much. Jack Hargreaves. Martin showed this record recently, and my dad had this when I was a child. This guy, Jack Hargreaves, he used to do this sort of program on the TV when I was a child, talking about the old ways of doing things, and you know, he spoke from experience, I suppose. And it was a very nice company show, and this record is all about fishing, or particularly the fish. I'll do a little bit of a needle drop of this later on, because this is really, really good, and just the sound of him talking is, for me, it takes me right back to being 7 or 8 years old. Wonderful. Thanks very much. Wow. Mud Rock 2. Wonderful. Thanks very much. I just bought their first album recently. So this is cool. I like Mud. I really like Mud. Wonderful. Thanks very much, Martin. That looks really great. Look forward to getting into that. Lindh-Atlantis, Björn J. Lindh. Suggests to me it's a Swede or a Scandinavian. Well, that is really good. Wonderful. Okay, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a little bit of a closer look at these, and then I'm going to go through them and tell you what I've learned, and yeah, remark on what Martin said in his note. Okay, so I've had a chance now to read up about some of these and find out what they are. This one, I knew what it is. This is Mud's second album. Great addition to have in my collection. Thanks very much, Martin, for sending that. I don't need to say much more about that, but great record to have. This is what I'm playing now. This is Atlantis by Björn Lindh. He's a Swedish musician. You know, one thing about Swedish musicians is they're probably, you know, amongst the best in the world. Very, very well trained and educated in what they do. And he plays on this, well, with a lot of other musicians, but in particular one guy called Jan, and he was a guitarist that I remember in Sweden, sort of heralding him as being like a Swedish Mark Knopfler, if you like. In the early 90s, I remember seeing adverts of his records on the TV. He was doing the sort of Brothers in Arms kind of stuff on records then, because it was popular and they were sort of selling it in that way. But Björn Lindh, I don't have any sort of music by him, but I would say it's kind of, it sort of leans in the direction of Tangerine Dream, if that makes any sense. Yeah, probably quite hard to find anywhere outside of Sweden, but thanks, Martin. Great addition to my collection. Over the Rainbow, this was a really interesting record. Certainly one that I'm going to spend a lot of time listening to this. So the Rainbow Theatre was once a premier theatre in London. A lot of really important things happened there in terms of rock music. Apparently Jimi Hendrix first burnt his guitar on stage at the Rainbow Theatre. The Beach Boys recorded their Live in London album at the Rainbow Theatre, amongst other things. I mean, lots of really important stuff has happened there. This album is like a celebration, if you like, on its last musical session there. So I guess it was going to be closed down, and a bunch of artists got together and said, let's do a concert to commemorate everything that's happened. At the time when it came out, this got slated by the critics because it's associated with so many big names and sort of important happenings. The people that are actually there on stage for the last gig were perhaps smaller names. Frankie Miller, I've recently learned about him through Steve Flipside CT. Wasn't a huge star. Neither was John Martin, although John Martin was a very good star. Hatfield and the North, they played live. The biggest name, I think, would have been Procol Harum, who apparently, I read some journalists said that even they, when they performed on this gig, this last gig at the Rainbow, hadn't had a hit for 7 years. So they were sort of, he was trying to suggest that they were sort of has-beens at that stage. But it's beautifully recorded. Yeah, great. Thanks very much for sending that. It's a really good record. Al Stewart. Now, I said I've got another Al Stewart record to do. This is this one. Still in the shrink. This is what I have. Year of the Cat. And the reason why I had that one is because everyone that I know that's had that record always point to it and say, oh, that's a really good record, you know. So I saw it and it was still in the shrink and didn't cost me very much, so I grabbed it. I haven't really played it yet, so I don't know how it sounds. And so this is Al Stewart's early years. From what I read, he's worked with a lot of really important people and sort of big names as well. I can't think of anyone now. Tori Amos, for instance, apparently he has worked with. No, the name's just gone out of my head now, but I'll put a list here of some of the people that he's worked with in the past. So he was sort of part of the folk revival movement that was happening around about at that time. No, it's great to have. In fact, it being his early years, it sort of focuses on his earlier albums before he had the sort of big recognition of some of his better known records. So, great record to sort of investigate and get into. These two records, I haven't really got to them yet. They're kind of still eluding me. But very kind of you to send them. I'll get to them eventually. But for me, the real treasure here was this album, Jack Hargreaves. He used to do this fantastic program on television, and there's so little of the material that he used to have on television with him on YouTube, sadly. So I'll put a little link to one little thing which I found, where he's talking about the loss of the old ways and the coming of the new ways. Not necessarily very representative of the program that he used to do, but it's all I can find. It's real sad. There's not more of it on YouTube. And I'll do a little needle drip with this. And there's no music. It's spoken word. He's talking about fish. So I won't let it go on for too long. But, well, thanks very much, Martin, for sending these records. Really kind of you. Thank everybody else for watching. And watch out for my next video. Thanks. Bye.
If you ask any angler what was the first fish he ever caught, the answer is usually a perch. A perch is a boy's fish. It's because the little ones are easy to catch and they're exciting to catch. And of course they look so wonderful when they're fresh out of the water. Patrick Chalmers said that a perch coming out of the water looks like a Japanese warrior in full armour. So if you started fishing as a nipper, you're liable to love the perch all your life. I've got a 3.5-pound perch on my bedroom wall. Let's examine some of the things that the books always say about perch and what lies behind them. First, the perch has a tender mouth and your hook's likely to break out if you pull hard. Well, this is true enough. He hasn't got the bony mouth that the pike has. He opened his mouth up and in between the jaws of it is some very tender skin. On the other hand, this saying comes from the old days. Perch was written about very early, and these legends about perch were settled very early. It comes from the old days when people were fishing for it with heavy hazel sticks, and they were chiefly boys that were fishing, and they did used to heave at them. If you have modern light tackle, and if you have a modern rod with some action to it, you ought to land pretty well all your perch.